How could she do this to me? You and your best friend share everything. So when she asks you for a favor, like babysitting the dog, you think, what could go wrong? Until you discover what's in her refrigerator.
If it's a severed head, I'm gonna be very upset.
So this is the story of a totally sane girl named Sophia who lives in LA and had a friend she thought she knew. She thought she could trust. They had the same values. Those values are Sophia's values. I want to name the friend. Let's just call the friend Sarah. I wasn't supposed to be at my friend's apartment that day, but she asked for a last-minute favor. Could I watch her unruly foster dog while she ran some errands? Of course. Her home felt like an extension of my own. We recently lived together there. She let me move in after I lost my job and had to sublet my own place to make rent. My cat stayed over whenever I traveled, and she also referred to her office as my bedroom. So I didn't think twice about opening her fridge. Let's be real, you were snooping, but what you found shocked the hell out of her, okay? When I saw the box of Wegovy, my first thought was, it's for the dog. I slammed the fridge door shut as if I'd seen a ghost, or worse, a picture of my ex with someone prettier than me. I opened it again, leaning forward. Wegovy. The weight loss drug in my dear friend's fridge felt like being cheated on, a confounding betrayal. Okay, so she's betrayed as you would be or not. So Sophia is, like all of us, a person living in the world and aware that Zepbound, Ozempic, GL1Ps are part of life now and everyone's getting on the train. But says she refuses the world of weight loss now because for more than a decade, my life epitomized it. I was diet culture's star student and it led me to the brink of death. Okay, that's not an unusual story. A lot of people have been there and a lot of people have made full recoveries, but it's still hard, sure. That's not where this article stops though. I fully expecting after her description of her eating disorder and going to a therapist that she would at least mention that, like, while it's really hard, this is my problem and I work through triggers because food is a part of daily life and other people being on diets is a part of daily life, but not Sophia. Sophia cannot handle it. She says, I stood frozen in the kitchen. I looked at the dog, who was not on Wegovy, because she thought it was for the dog for a second, sure. What now? I considered saying nothing. We all know Sophia can't say nothing. Guys, I texted, Wegovy, you're not in trouble, but what's going on? Because she is entitled to an answer immediately. This is definitely not none of her damn business. She is treating this like a profound betrayal. So her friend gets home and says, I can explain, she announced when she gets home. The two of us sat on opposite ends of the couch with our feet tucked beneath us. How cute. I tried to listen, but it was hard to hear over the sound of blood boiling in my head. So she heard, I can explain, and then the other thing she has heard her friend Sarah say is, I can't believe you found out. She said, laughing a little. You're the one who, like, really couldn't find out. And I insist on reading that line that way because let's get real. Sophia has made her opinions on other people and what they do with their life very clearly known long before this big Wegovy reveal on accident. I read that line very specifically, like, you're like the one who couldn't find out. She's not saying that, like, you're the one who really couldn't find out and I tried my best, because do you know how easy it would be to not ask her over and to hide your medication in, like, a bag of broccoli or something? Like, you'd have to be either snooping really hard, Sophia, which I don't put past her, or this was finally Sarah's opportunity to get you the hell away from her. I bet you $1 to a donut that she has definitely said, oh my God, if you went on Ozempic, I would die. And maybe she took it as a joke initially, but at some point she knows that Sophia is not joking, and she does think that she has some entitlement. So they're on the couch, blood is boiling in her head because she is so pissed at her friend, okay? And she's like, so you're the one that like really couldn't find out. All right, this is how Sarah planned on telling her all along, because at first I thought she came over to her house a lot and, you know, maybe she was actually trying to hide it from her. No, this was a big reveal, and this was on purpose, because for the last 6 months, according to Sophia, later that day, I remember all the times in the past 6 months my friend had canceled on me due to nausea, stomach pain, vomiting, all common side effects of Wegovy. I started teasing her every time she texted about it, like, your poor body. I typed more than once. Oh, she's so betrayed. So here's the thing. Sophia has been on the way out for a really long time. Let's just be real. This was gonna happen. Sarah wants to do what Sarah wants to do with her own damn body. I am really sorry that Sophia has an eating disorder, but that isn't everyone else's problem. This is beyond the scope of doing something inconsiderate around, like, say, a sober friend, like getting super plastered or inviting them to an event where they're gonna be the only sober person. Like, no, you're allowed to lose weight. And to make somebody else feel really bad about it, it's just as bad as making them feel really bad for gaining weight. Since starting recovery, she says, I've been rigorously mindful about the people who I surround myself with. I quit a job that was great on paper because the entire staff did Whole30 together. Oh, how dare they? And when my birthday rolled around, our manager opted for a communal snack of Halo Top ice cream and berries instead of the usual Magnolia cupcakes. Okay. My favorite ex-boyfriend, that's a toxic statement if I've ever heard one. You have a favorite ex-boyfriend. That means this is not Sophia's first rodeo at getting dumped or being a little too much. It sounds like Sophia is fun enough but she cannot keep them because her standards for what other people need to do for her are too high. Because apparently her favorite ex-boyfriend used to do a sweep for bathroom scales where whenever we spend the night somewhere new, as silly as it sounds, scales are my version of Chekhov's gun. The mere sight of one portends a violent end. A lot of people have problems, but I don't subscribe to this get out of jail free card culture where if you have a problem, therefore you can be a massive, controlling jerk and nobody can ever have a good time or have a different opinion because of your traumas. That's just not how things go. You can't hold people hostage this way. So she was gonna go to a book club, talk about their favorite book of the year, All Fours by Miranda July, who is just terribly normal, and discuss someone else's unconditional indulgence with the unspoken weight of an appetite suppressant in the room. Made me want to pull my hair out at the root. So she decides to not attend the book club reading, saying, I'm really sorry, I don't think I can come today, but this sucks, but the Wegovy of it all is just too triggering for me right now. And her friend writes back, and I guarantee you it was like this. That makes me very sad, but I do understand. Anyway, I'll be right there. Bye. That is exactly what happened. Everyone is happy to be rid of Sophia and her baggage. I'm sorry. So when I was younger, I used to think because I was an open book, everybody else was, and that they were always telling me everything they thought. So if I said something maybe a little outrageous or self-centered and nobody objected immediately, I thought they were okay with it. And that turns out to not be true. So if you think I'm just being a super judgy bitch, trust me, I know what it's like to be dumped as well for being a super selfish bitch. Just because people aren't telling you immediately that, like, well, that was a kind of a crazy idea, or that's a bit much, or that hurts my feelings. These things just haven't been spoken aloud. And I think that Sophia has gotten really used to people coddling her She has built a world where she thinks that everybody agrees and she thinks that she's safe. She's like, yeah, when I said that I would die if you ever went on Ozempic, she didn't say anything. She just said, I know you would. So that was her promise to never go on Ozempic. That's the world she's living in. After the incident, then she shrugs off the book club. A few weeks after the book club, we wished each other happy birthday in lowercase. We haven't spoken since. Yeah, no duh. Yeah, no duh. Because let's be real, Sarah is living her best life now. She's free of the weight, the excess weight she had on her own body, and she's free of the heavy weight that is Sophia and her damage. It's okay to be damaged. It's not okay to be like this. She goes on to say, from mutual friends, I've gleaned that we both feel similarly. Sure. Something like, it's a gigantic bummer, but I get it. Here's the thing. That's how Sophia says it. How Sarah says it is, yeah, it's a gigantic bummer, but I get it. To friends she knows are gonna get it back to Sophia. To all the other friends, she's just like, who does she think she is? Because a friendship that you want to continue and you know that they're gonna have a really hard time with something, like let's say your friend is struggling with infertility issues and you find out you're gonna have a baby and you don't know how to tell them because you got something that they don't have yet or they might never have, and that's really hard. But if you want the friendship to continue, you have that hard conversation, and if your friend freaks out for a little while, that's understandable. But if they say something like, oh, you can't have this baby, that's a bridge too far. Am I right? I really do think that the only people that are getting this message back to Sophia are people that Sarah isn't that close with. And it's just like, yeah, it's a gigantic bummer, but And after this article, oh my gosh, I bet there was another book club meeting where this one was read. I don't fault my friend for any of this. Of course I don't. We live in a world replete with signals that thin is good and fat is bad. If society, if your doctor, if they can even be so called, offers a silver bullet, why wouldn't you take it? I miss her. But of all my breakups, this has been the least painful. Not because our love was platonic, but because it was an act of self-protection. My boundaries are unforgiving because they have to be. Have you ever had that friend where you're like, so who broke up with who? It was mutual. We did it at the exact same time. We both took a breath and we were just like, I want to break up. Sure, that never really happens. Torturing myself for more than a decade radicalized me. Okay. I know what it feels like to live under the reign of restriction, and I know what it feels like to choose allowance instead. Okay. So what does that have to do with your friend eating? Why can't you still choose allowance instead? Why can't you still have your appetites? Why can't you still be somebody who allows yourself to eat or whatever, and your friend eats less? What does that have to do with your friend? What was really revealing is, oh my gosh, I was as shocked as if I saw a picture of my ex with someone prettier than me. And that's what this all boils down to. Her friend Sarah cannot get prettier than Sophia. And she is, and it's a big problem. She has been noticing her friend losing weight, and she has been wanting to say, like, you're not on Ozempic, are you? Her friend's not interested. She wants to lose this weight, and she wants to be happy about it. We don't know anything about whether this friend should or shouldn't be. This article would be a much bigger indictment on the GLP-1 industry if it was about how her friend also had a severe eating disorder. She knew for a fact that she was lying to her doctor in order to get the GLP-1s. This would be a bigger indictment on how freely the doctors give it out, or how insidious diet culture is. Like, she's so thin, but she still felt like she needed this. We obviously left to assume that the GLP-1s were a perfectly healthy choice for this woman to lose excess weight, and the only problem Sophia really has with it is that the side effect of her getting healthier is getting hotter. And that is the true subtext of the story. okay, that Sophia is selfish and bad. This is one of the most unhinged things I've ever read. This person is an absolute black hole of psychic energy, walking around warping the world with her presence. I don't know if I've ever felt such a disturbance from a piece of writing. Some women are truly thinking that everything they expose is brave and universal, and I think it's past time they learn some things you need to keep to yourself. This is like a guy writing about how, thanks to violent video games and violence culture, he's had no choice but to constantly fantasize about murder his whole life, occasionally slipping into hurting animals, and finally needing to cut off friendships because all his friends seemed so vulnerable and killable, and they didn't have any self-defense skills, so they were baiting him into dangerous territory, and we're supposed to read it like he's the relatable hero. Like, if you admitted to such antisocial thinking, everybody would be like, yeah, that's not okay. That's not everyone else's problem. That's not what violence culture is. To be honest, only a girl could get away with this. Like, I don't think anything that a guy would be interested in, even if it was dieting, where they said that, like, my friend can't diet without betraying me. I think that if a guy did it, we'd be so fast to call it out. For Sophia gets an article in The Cut where she gets to paint herself as someone who lost her friend over Wegovy. Like, guys, when are we going to start accepting that just because somebody says something couched in therapy speak or couched in super intellectual sounding things, you can still say really messed up things to people just because it sounds like it's something you can't argue with? I feel really happy for the other friends. If one of my crazy ex-friends put an article in national freaking newspaper, basically indicting themselves in the friendship, I would be so relieved. I feel like this is a huge gift to Sarah. You know, any guilt you would have, all you'd have to do is just like, do you want to know how crazy she was about this? Google The Cut. Okay, usually I'm the odd duck out in these sort of situations, but it turns out most people shared my opinion. And so let's read some comments. Hey chat, if someone else's health decisions make you spiral, you should probably talk to a therapist. Pretty straightforward. I was off sugar and my friend had the audacity to have a slice of cake in her own fridge. The author, probably. Setting boundaries for yourself isn't the same as making rules for what other people aren't allowed to do with their lives and their health. The author's now former friend is surely better off to end this friendship. Absolutely. Secretly taking a weight loss drug? An adult's medications are private, not secrets. Couldn't have said it better myself. Does your friend have to tell you about every prescribed medication she takes? This is such a weird take. I know that some friendships are pretty enmeshed this way, where they like, no, I know my friend's on Zoloft or whatever, but I don't know, this is just overly intimate. Can someone help me find my eyes? They just rolled out of my head. Hey, The Cut, why would you give this person a platform? May friends like this never find me. Yeah. I cut off my very close friend because she didn't run her medical choices by me first, is a wildly inappropriate conclusion for this article to come to. I truly hope the author is in active therapy, as it seems like her need to control things has just transferred from her eating to controlling the people closest in her lives. Absolutely. This was really written from the perspective that this is in no way, shape, or form a medication, but a vice or a lifestyle choice. 9 years into ED recovery here, and all I can say from experience is triggers are a sign of unhealed trauma. It's hard to hear, but the author may not be as recovered as she thinks she is. Get back into therapy. Yeah, and hopefully find an honest therapist. I think that the reason Sophia has gotten to the place she is she has been in quite a bit of therapy. But there's therapy and then there's therapy. I really think that some people will tell you whatever you want to hear and agree with you all the time. I have lived with ED for 20 plus years. No, they never truly go away. I now take GLP for PCOS-related insulin resistance. Turns out the inability to lose weight the right way was never my fault, and I can finally address the years I spent fighting off a diabetes diagnosis. Diabetes is no joke. This is some of the most self-centered nonsense I've ever laid my eyes on. Even when I was in active recovery, I knew not a single one of my friends was responsible for my reaction to food. To spiral over medicine is beyond ridiculous. This person says, I'm not a fan of GL1P, but I'm not cutting off my friends or family for using it. It's not your body. It's none of your business. She doesn't owe you an explanation for making medical decisions on whatever she wants to do with her body. Are we cooked as a society? Body autonomy is a real thing. I don't even want to read this article because it's the most Karenist thing on the app in the last 2 days. Yeah. We are way into each other's business, these days. And you know what? Being in each other's business is one thing if you actually really care. I think this was just purely competitive. This lady's great. I see y'all got it handled in the comments. Okay, this one lady says she doesn't own eating disorders, nor did her friend do anything to trigger her. Sophia looked for her friend's medication in her friend's fridge, then wrote a piece about her friend's GLP use, which people have already used to identify her. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, no crap. LA's really small. Like, it's a huge, huge city, but it's really just made out of like compartmentalized villages. And yeah, if you were friends with Sophia, yeah, it would be really easy to figure out. Thank God this went over so badly. If she has been exposed, I'd just be like, let the article speak for itself. If she was a recovering alcoholic and seeing alcohol in someone else's fridge triggered her, they would have never published this piece because it would be immediately identified as the rantings of a mentally ill, entitled person, and New York Magazine would look exploitative for platforming her. Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios that are very, very plainly obvious if put that way. I regret commenting and giving this attention. On the other hand, I'm so sick of the shame associated with these medications and brought to us straight from the media. These medications are life-changing. If you're still in the mindset that somebody's body is any of your business, that's on you. Sincerely, down 60 pounds for 2 years and proud. Good for you, girlfriend. You thought it was for the dog? Sure, Jan. A hatred people get for taking GLP-1s is truly unhinged. There are any number of health reasons for folks to take these medications, and none of them is anyone else's business. Again, over and over, this is the line people are gonna really draw the sand in. People are getting healthier and not just thinner off it. I think if it was just thinner, we'd be seeing a different story, but people are defending it because they're having real life experiences. Sorry, there are areas where genuine discourse is warranted, but this spiral over GL1Ps is just society's latest purity culture. Absolutely, maybe my favorite comment. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining me on this. I guess I don't really have a hot take on it because everybody is agreeing, but I'd love to hear. Have you ever had a super meshed friendship? What do you think of GL1Ps? You know, yeah, let me know. And other than that, have a good day.